Welcome to Eve Talks It All. This is partially visual, partially audio medium, part of the TV Socialites Podcast Network. This video is talking about books, and I put in all the relevant descriptions of what my other creative site Charlie is up to and where to find all of that. So I'm not gonna talk about it in every single video that I film in great detail, but you can always check it out, and you should in fact. So what am I going to be talking about today? We're just going to look into some bite-sized themed directs. So I just have one trope today for you that I will dive into, and that is missing people. So I would say that missing people is probably one of my favorite, most intriguing tropes in thrillers. I just think that it can really showcase some interesting character work in terms of obviously abandonment issues or maybe some kind of unresolved business, and I think that can always provide some good content for character development and obviously for suspense. What happened to this person? And obviously, as someone who listens to a fair bit of true crime as well, unsolved cases where people just vanish into thin air, I think, well, how the fuck does that happen? So it's nice to sometimes get a resolution, even if it is in fiction. So I will go through, I believe I have 6 recommendations, so we won't be here for long, but I feel like these lists are a perfect way to just have some more bite-sized content on the channel as well, because I understand not everyone always wants to watch hour-plus long videos, although I do enjoy making them, but it is also nice to sometimes just do something that's like 15 minutes long, but still gets the point across. So let's begin. So I'm not going to pull this book out because I would need to pull out the whole thing, but I got The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I would say that this is definitely an underrated book of his. I have a woman who is doing art. She is an arts counselor at a camp, and at the same camp 15 years ago, back when she was just one of the kids, she stayed at a bunk with 3 other girls who went missing, and now she's staying at a bunk with 3 other teen girls, and she's just sort of trying to kind of heal from the trauma and also figure out what happened to her friends who went missing all those years ago. And I would say that the way that this is handled, both actually what happened to these girls is really interesting, and what happens in the present day with the current girls and our main character is really interesting, because I think that the trauma of her dealing with this disappearance and trying to live her life is actually explored quite well, considering it is still a popcorn thriller. And I think that the atmosphere of the summer camp and everything, I think that adds a really nice vibe. So, summer's coming up, so that definitely could be a good read for you if you want to check it out. But yeah, I mean, again, without spoiling, it is definitely out there, and obviously the twists are a bit out there, but that's just what you get with authors like Riley Sager, and I personally am living, laughing, loving for it. It's up to you if you enjoy that or not, but overall, I definitely would recommend. It's definitely one of my favorites on this list, if not the favorite. Well, actually, okay, it might share the number 1 spot with another book. But another Riley book that deals with a missing person is another one I'm not going to pull out, but it is The Middle of the Night. And it follows a story of our main male character, the only male character in his books actually, where he had a sleepover with his friend 30 years ago in a tent. They were both 10 years old, and then he fell asleep and the friend just disappeared, and he hasn't been seen since. And again, our main character, he's definitely affected by what happened, and to the point where he doesn't want to have children because he's afraid that they would go missing one day. He doesn't want to do a lot of things, and he goes back to his childhood home where it happened, and things kind of start happening again, and he wants to get to the bottom of exactly what happened all those years ago. And it's not my favorite Riley book. I think it's kind of like, well, it's still, I think it was still a 4 stars, so it's definitely, like, it's still a good book. I really enjoyed it. For me, but for me, it would still be somewhere around in the bottom, just because I liked some of his other work a lot more. But I think it definitely, you know, gets the point across. The entire premise is centered around a missing person and how that affects other people and who could have been responsible, trying to find answers all these years later. So this one, as opposed to Summer Camp, is more of like a small, quiet town where nothing ever happens. This is like their main big event, like a bad event that's happened. And yeah, I think that it definitely is interesting. And I think that if you're looking for something that feels quite real in terms of what ends up being the truth, I think that you won't be disappointed. And then I got another one. I got The Reappearance of Rachel Price. I do think personally that, tied with The Last Time I Lied, is my favorite. This is a 5-star. Last Time I Lied, I think I ranked 4.5. So yeah, but overall, I think this one is quite serious, and that one is like more fun. So they're like a joint favorite. But this one focuses on, so we have our main character, Belle, and she believes to have been abandoned by her mother when she was 2 years old. She just disappeared one day while they were out, has never come back. And the true crime documentary crew want to do a documentary on it. And she's like, no, I don't want to do this. But she kind of gets a bit pushed into it by her family because it's a great opportunity for extra income. And as they're filming this documentary, her mother comes back. And Belle thinks that her story of where she's been all these years, it's not adding up. And we just go down a rabbit hole. I would say this is definitely such a dark, intense book, which is deceptive because it's meant to be YA, but it does not read like YA. It just really dives into these different family dynamics of abandonment issues, of anger, even considering the circumstances. It really drives home like mother-daughter relationships. It really drives home domestic issues as well, without spoiling too much. There's a lot to unpack here, and it really left an impact. I still think about this book. To be fair, I say that about a fair few books, but I definitely think about this book fairly often. It definitely left a big impression on me. Then I have 2 Lisa Jewell books. One of them I don't have on physical at the moment, but Then She Was Gone is about a girl who gets abducted by an obsessed stalker, and we see her life, what it turned out like in said captivity. And I mean, that's not really what the synopsis says, but it happens fairly early on in the story. We start on the mother's POV, and then we move into the girl's POV of what happened, and it features a lot of grief, a lot of pain for the family, thinking what happened to our child. And then you find out the truth, and then you think, wow, like, this was such a hard book to read. It was so heartbreaking. And again, it is really dark. I would say this and Rachel Price are the darkest ones on this list. This, to be fair, this is probably even darker and depressing, but at the same time it had a message of hope in the end, I would guess, some healing. But yeah, I definitely don't want to read this book again. It is really sad. Then the other book that deals with the disappearance from Lisa Jewell is called The Night She Disappeared, and it's about a young mother who goes to a party one night and she just doesn't come home, and she leaves her kid with her mother. And I would say that this one is definitely lighter than Then She Was Gone, but it features lots of topics about, again, where did she go, how could she leave her kid, and then we get flashbacks from before she went missing and her dealing with family life that she didn't necessarily want, dealing with a controlling relationship, dealing with certain feelings towards certain other people that she was struggling to grasp, and also, again, a strong familial bond with her mother. And we also have another POV. Again, I'm not describing how it's described in the synopsis, but we have another POV. That's how everything kicks up with a teacher who moves in and finds a sign that says dig here, and that's how the whole thing starts. That's how the investigation amps up again for this girl. But yeah, it definitely has, I mean, the whole story is centered around, okay, this girl's missing in the present day. This is how she might have got to that point in the past. What is happening in the present to find her and to, you know, get justice and all of that. So yeah, definitely I think it fits the bill. And then the last one that I don't want to finish on a downer necessarily, but I didn't love this one. It didn't work for me, but I just can't not include it because it deals with a missing person. That's the entire plot point. So I do have to say that for these lists, I still do include books that I personally didn't love or even like that much, but I think will be suitable for someone else. So this one is Have You Seen Melody by Sophie Hannah? And this one is about a woman who she's experiencing a bit of a personal crisis, and she goes to this super expensive spa that she can't really afford just to completely forget her real life and dodge her responsibilities. And she gets mixed up, or the hotel mixes up her room, and she walks into this room and she sees a little girl and a man, and this little girl looks exactly like a missing girl, Melody, and she's thinking, what the hell is happening? And it just all goes from there. So like I said, this one personally didn't work for me, but it definitely leads, like, it fits the trope, and it reads a lot about, again, I feel like the woman's perspective is not really necessary even, because the story about this missing girl was actually much more entertaining, and I feel like if anything, for me, the main character kind of ruined it. But, you know, you might not feel the same way, so, you know, I'm not going to tell you how to feel about your books. So the point is that it deals with a missing person and another person trying to get to the bottom and investigating it, and then shit goes down, so it fits the bill. But yeah, these are the 6 books that deal with some kind of missing people, some sort of investigation into those missing people. They're like the main purpose of this book. You have different tropes. You had one coming back. You have, you know, different modes of knowing what happened to this person exactly, or seeing them before they disappeared, you know, or living in a complete unknown, you know, that sort of stuff. So yeah, a little bit of everything. If you read any of these, please share your thoughts. If you have any recommendations for missing person books that I have not read yet that aren't on this list, then do share, because I do want to read more, and I hope to see you next time.